Hey there, welcome to the garden. My name is Anna. If you're new, welcome. Today I'm just poking around and taking a look at things because we got a huge rain last night, super strong winds, really strong storm. I want to make sure everything's looking okay. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Unheated Greenhouse space, what's going on there right now, some of my plans for switching that over for the fall garden, and then show you just a couple things that are going on in the garden right now. Let's see if we got any damage. So far, on a first look, it doesn't look like the storm did too much. Things look like they might have gotten a tiny bit flattened. My poor Swiss chard is starting to have a hard time. And this bed is always an issue for me because we get splash from a roof. This is a small urban garden, like we're right next to the house, and the water coming out of the gutters, even though we just got our gutters cleaned, like it hits this bed really hard. So I really have to problem solve for next year because it kind of got washed out with that big storm. And I just need to think a little bit about what I'm going to do with that garden bed because yikes, it's not looking so good. But I did see over here a very, very exciting thing. The first cucumber on the fence cucumbers is coming along. Yay! I'll make sure that everything stayed up on this fence. It looks like it did. That is always fun to see. It's growing. This was, I think, let me see. I think it's one of these. Homemade pickles. I don't know. I just got this variety. Yeah, homemade pickles. All right, we're gonna have to make pickles with it. I just picked this up at the garden center because if you followed along, you know I had some cucumber challenges, but that's what that is. One plant not having issues are the Cucumellans, and they are starting to take off. Now, Cucumellans, if you haven't heard of a Cucumellan, they're also called like mouse melons. They're like just really tiny, tiny little cucumbers. Kind of more novelty, honestly, than anything else, but they're fun to grow. And they are one that sits, like you get them started, they take a while with their seeds, they kind of sit, and then they just explode and like take off. By September, mark my words, this whole corner of this gate will be covered in cucumellans, but it just takes them a little while to get going. So I am encouraged to see that it's making its way up there, and especially once it starts to reach over the fence, I think it'll start to get more like full sun, and then it'll really take off. So let's chat about the Unheated Greenhouse. I love this little thing. I got it off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. And as you can see right now, it is not really serving a total greenhouse function, except it kind of is because we've got plant starts. So these are some little seedlings that I am starting for the fall garden, and the shelves of this greenhouse have been a perfect spot for them to get going. So it's kind of an unutilized space. This is sort of like a corner of my garden. Oh look, I need to weed. But a corner of my garden where there's not a whole lot going on. As you can see, we've got some like, the air conditioner and some things that are not as aesthetic. But it has a nice like stone paver kind of bottom, and so that has been a perfect place to put the greenhouse frame. And what I did in the spring was just took the frame off. As you can see, I took some of the little shelves out, and that has worked out really nicely too, because I've got this zucchini plant that is basically growing up through, well, it is growing up through the frame of the greenhouse, and it's acting as a perfect little trellis to grow the zucchini. I am 100% going to grow a zucchini like this next year because it's just an easy, nice frame. Like it just basically started growing up through it on its own. I didn't even really realize what was happening until it was already growing vertically through the frame of the greenhouse, and that has been absolutely perfect. So there's actually 4 grow bags in there. I may reduce that down to 3 in the future, but the grow bags are really nice, and I have found to be kind of an essential part of any sort of unheated greenhouse, because you do need heavy things in the bottom to weigh it down. Even when we have the cover over on the greenhouse, I like to have grow bags, at least 2, one on each side, in the greenhouse just to make sure the frame is really weighted down. I will tie the cover to the fence and to the house, but just knowing that those grow bags are in there really helps. And then you can grow just like whatever you want. Over winter I'll probably do some kind of greens or something, but for right now I've got all 4 in there, and we've got kind of a mismatch. I actually have a ground cherry that I think got hit by the water yesterday coming off the roof too, because it's kind of falling over. But there's a few different squash plants. There's a cosmos, a couple kinds of cosmos, and then even this little sunflower. Steal it from the pollinators for a second. Super pretty. And I've got the little seedlings on the tray. So I still did utilize a couple of the shelves to start some seedlings for my fall garden. Those are bunching onions, basil, and then actually some decorative ornamental peppers that I don't think have sprouted yet, and corn, a fun little row of corn. I'm gonna go ahead and move that container once the corn gets a little bit bigger into an area as part of like my fall decor and display. But it's a perfect kind of space to just use for starting things like that. And ideally I would have arranged my grow bags so that I could actually get in here a little bit easier. But again, I'm dealing with the issue of the splash back off the roof, and so I kind of had to move all the grow bags to this side. I actually also really like this window box. I'm thinking that I might get another one for over winter. I think that would be a perfect kind of space to grow like baby greens in the greenhouse over the winter. And so that kind of leads me into, when am I going to put the cover back on this unheated greenhouse? When am I going to, get that started? I'm in zone 7A. I'm in Virginia. We stay warm well into September, if not even into October. But I am thinking, well, I'm also expecting someone else in October. So I know I'm going to be a little busy in October. I'll probably put the shell of the greenhouse back on at the end of September so that I can start to think about what kinds of things I want to grow over the winter in the unheated greenhouse. I've got a few different videos about growing in the unheated greenhouse. It was amazing for starting some things in the spring, like to starting my green onions. It worked beautifully, and starting some of those like early winter crops. It doesn't keep things growing all winter long, but it does extend the season a bit. So I would love to, get another one of these little trays and have some lettuce starts and different things that I get started in the fall. Now the key is to get them started early enough, because it's unheated. It won't just like start your seeds for you like they would grow inside or in warmer temperatures. So I will probably need to either buy some lettuce starts or start a few. I've got a bunch of things that I'm starting inside for the garden, and I do have a couple videos about that as well. And so some of those things I think I'll probably end up putting in the greenhouse too, and then that'll extend the season of those plants even more because they'll have the warmth and the protection of the greenhouse. But overall, the summer unheated greenhouse I think has been really awesome. I have really enjoyed it. I kind of like the frame. At first I was like, I don't know, but I think it's kind of cute. One thing I do wish I had done was maybe grow some kind of vine up it. I was a little bit nervous about hurting the integrity of the frame. I mean, these are not super expensive. Like, this is an Amazon unheated, like, little greenhouse kit. It is not super sturdy. It's pretty easy to push back together if any of the joints become loose, but it's not really strong. And I don't think I would grow anything that was super heavy, that had like a squash that had a big fruit or anything like that on this frame. I think that would be too much for it. I could have done maybe like some beans or even my mandevillas. I kind of wish I had done a mandevilla on this, also because a plant like a mandevilla doesn't do a lot of harm to the actual structure, because it is something that you're going to be putting the cover back over. You don't want to use, I don't know, I wouldn't want something that had like really sticky little tendrils that I had to be trying to like pull off. I kind of wanted to keep it clean. And that is why I didn't grow any vines or anything on it this year, but next year I'll probably throw a mandevilla on it because that would have been pretty. But anyways, it's a super great structure, perfect for starting seeds, perfect for utilizing with, you know, this, like these grow bags and the squash. And yeah, I'm always a fan. If you don't have room, you know, for a big, huge heated greenhouse setup, I think these are definitely worth it. They're just a little different. I do try to share what I'm doing to give you ideas about how to use this best and how to make the most of it, because they are different than, you know, just your typical greenhouse. But anyways, that is the Unheated Greenhouse in the summer. I wanted to just kind of share like a little bit more in depth and some of my thoughts. And yeah, end of September, we'll be covering this baby back up and getting into growing in it for the fall, over the winter. I do grow all through the winter. That's the nice thing about Zone 7A is we get cold, but I am able to continue to grow things, and this greenhouse has helped me a lot in overwintering different things. I may be putting some things in here like my eucalyptus and plants like that to try to overwinter. I always like to experiment with that a little bit. Hey there. So it's a few days later. I had to come out and give you an update because I made some changes to the Unheated Greenhouse space, and I wanted to just show you really quickly. I wanted to make it more usable so I could walk into it. I had some storm damage from a couple more really heavy rains, and so let me show you what I did. I went ahead and changed the configuration. So I put one of my pots here. This is one of the fall ones that I did that's looking so pretty, and it has a nice tall tomato plant in it, so that can grow up and I can just grow it up the greenhouse frame, which I think will work really well. And then hopefully it'll be done with harvest by the time I want to put the frame back on, but I think that'll be really nice. And then I've got 2 grow bags there. I've got another grow bag over here. I did move one of my other grow bags out in front because it was just too much with the 4. I think if I set this up originally, like I could have maybe squeezed a second one in there. But I just, since I didn't get this started from the beginning, I didn't want to squish all my plants. But now I've got this squash growing vertically as well. I still have all my little babies, but now I can get in and like take care of them and check on them. I need to water, but here's everything. Look, the little peppers are coming up. Sorry if the screen is foggy. It is humid. But yeah, little peppers, I can check on them. A little rain damage, but that's okay. And then what I did was, this is the, not tomatillos, these are ground cherries. They were growing kind of sideways, and I just took this apart and then put it back together and fed them through. So they look kind of flopped over right now because they were growing along the ground, but hopefully now they'll grow up through that space, and that should be, yeah, hopefully just about kind of perfect. We'll see, but I really like that I can utilize this space now. The rain, when it comes down and damages things, it comes like right down in here in the middle, so that's why I didn't want to have anything in the middle. But these should be fine, and this will be a perfect full sun spot for this container. I think it'll be fun to have the tomato growing up it. I may stick another tomato container in that corner. I'm not quite sure yet. I think it'd be kind of nice to have another tomato in that space. I just had to update you. I love this. It's a little bit more usable now. So another example of how you can use your unheated greenhouse. And this is definitely a little bit more aesthetic. I think it looks kind of pretty with the pot there. It's never going to be the most beautiful area in the garden because I have, the air conditioner right here, but this is urban gardening. You know, you deal with the backyard that you have. Anyways, yeah, that's the update. I had to come into this video and share that with you because things are looking different now. So if you see the next video and it looks a little different, this is why. All right, I'll talk to you next one. Bye-bye.